Okay, let's talk tech. Specifically, let's talk about the Unabomber. I know, this doesn't seem related, but bear with me for just a little bit. We now know that the Unabomber is a man known as Theodor John Ted Kaczynski. And if you guessed he was Polish because of the mockery of C's and Z's in his last name, give yourself a gold star. He was born in Chicago, which is not a huge shock because, hey, Chicago has the highest number of Polish people outside of Warsaw. Don't ask me why, maybe they liked our lake or just got sick of Germany overrunning them all the time. But anyway, Ted was sort of a child prodigy, and by sort of, I mean he was in Harvard at age 16. What were you doing at age 16? Because I know that I sure as hell wasn't getting into Harvard. And because that wasn't enough, Ted went on to get a PhD in mathematics from the University of Michigan before becoming an assistant professor at Berkeley in California. All by the time that he was 25. Are you feeling inadequate yet? Good, because you're about to start feeling a little bit better about yourself. After 2 years at Berkeley, Ted resigned and decided to take up the more lucrative job of bombing the ever-loving bejesus out of innocent people. In 1971, Ted moved into a tiny cabin in rural Montana with no electricity, no running water, and little money to support himself. During this time, he became convinced that technology was ruining civilization and it had to be stopped. Since conventional means wouldn't be enough, Ted decided to do something horrifyingly crazy. His first bomb detonated in 1978, and sure enough, the FBI turned and went, wait, what the hell? The first bomb was sent to a professor at Northwestern University, but luckily only injured the mailman. Although Ted continued to bomb through the years, it wasn't until 1985 that he had his first casualty, a 38-year-old computer store owner in California. Deciding to take a little bit of a break, Ted took 6 years before striking again, bombing professors at several prominent universities, including Yale. From 1978 to 1995, Ted sent 16 bombs, which racked up a horrifying score of injuring 23 people and killing only 3. However, it was in 1995 that things decided to go from crazy into territory that makes Gary Busey look sane. Ted mailed a 35,000-word manuscript to several major media outlets, demanding that they print it or he'd send more bombs. The whole thing read like the writings of a crazy person because, well, they were. But the gist of it was that technology was destroying the world and that the Unabomber was attacking professors and scientists. But he also felt that the professors of humanities were cool. Quietly, thousands of English, history, music, and sociology majors breathed a sigh of relief. This is where I stopped and went, wait a damned minute. Ted advocated for the destruction of technology, seeing as it was ruining society. Hell, the man made all his bombs on his own, even though they were kind of terrible. Even one of the FBI members who was on the task force to catch him noted that he's not a craftsman. His cuts aren't straight. They don't make right angles. He spends a lot of time. He does a lot of polishing and sanding to make it feel nice. But they don't look really craftsman-like. Honestly, looking at some of the reproductions, you have to agree. I mean, seriously. But going back to his manifesto against technology, it makes no sense. Ted wrote his huge manifesto on a typewriter, which, as many of us know, is technology, no matter how old and outdated it seems. Hell, the man used the newspapers, a mass media technology, to get his manifesto, one that specifically stated that the only thing mass media was good for was revolution, mind you, out into the world. And ironically, it was because of the media that Ted was even caught. The FBI pleaded with the readers to contact them if they recognized the writings, and eventually Ted's own brother, Dave, came forward and identified the writings. Talk about your awkward family gatherings. Currently, Ted is serving 4 consecutive life sentences in Colorado, but his manifesto has seemingly struck a chord. Check the internet, and if there's a discussion board about the Unabomber's manifesto, someone on there will agree with his views that technology is kind of evil and we should totally get rid of it, guys. Again, I paused and had to ask myself, wait, what? Not because I agree with the people who think that technology is bad, because I don't. But because these people who hate technology are using technology to tell people that you hate technology. There's irony here, I just know it. But to me, I mean, that seems like some serious hypocrisy. If you don't like technology, you're going to have to give up a lot. Okay, I'll give up my computer, it's evil anyway, some Luddites will proudly proclaim. Hilarious side note, the Luddites, people who advocate against technology, once had a website. If that seems backwards, you're not alone. Unless these guys were the worst secret agents ever and wanted to infiltrate the internet from the inside out, I mean, could happen. Either way, their site has since failed and is no longer around. But okay, let's say you believe that giving up your beloved computer is no big deal, you'll just go back to the typewriter. Well, that's kind of a pity, because that's technology too, and once upon a time it was considered evil and bad, and that it would corrupt writing as we know it. And don't think that handwriting is safe either, because way back in the day that was considered new and totally heretical as well. Seriously, when we've got stuff from Plato and he's saying that writing is bad and will totally destroy our ability to rely on memory, you have to wonder. See, here's the thing. Everything we use to write, be it a typewriter, or a computer, or good old-fashioned paper and pencil, was once new and dangerous technology. But as time went on, we learned to trust it, and right now it so happens that computers are the newest and least trusted of all forms. So right now computers, texting, and the internet are all suspect, and to be honest, as a future teacher, I don't know how much I trust them. Not that I think that Facebook is the devil or anything crazy, but you've got to be careful. Computers can be hacked and they can get viruses. Texts can be manipulated, misinterpreted, and forwarded to all the wrong people or put on the internet. I'm looking at you, FU autocorrect, and texts from last night. And sites like Twitter and Facebook post your stuff to the world. I'm always terrified that a future employer will see something on my Facebook that they won't like, so my privacy settings are on extreme. Like totalitarian regime rule with an iron fist extreme. Seriously, try looking for me on Facebook. I am a goddamn Facebook ninja. The only ways you can find me is through friends or groups that I'm in, and I basically have to tell you in person what to look for. That's not to say that all technologies are bad. Take Wikipedia, for example. At first, people hated it because it could be edited by anyone. I still know a ton of teachers who absolutely refuse to allow it as a source on anything. But what I, and countless other students, have learned is that while Wikipedia itself isn't the best source because anyone can edit it, the sources listed in the bottom of articles can be legit. I've been linked to government sites, scientific organizations, and even official information on the LHC, which, according to the website, has the Large Hadron Collider killed us all yet? It has not. Take all that info I got on the Unabomber that I just said. Most of it came from Wikipedia, but at the bottom of the article are links to several theses that the Unabomber published, his doctoral dissertation, the New York Times, a copy of his manifesto, and pretty much every newspaper article about him ever. Seriously, that's a lot of articles. Think of new technology like breaking in a new pair of shoes. You loved your old ones to death, but someone, usually for me it's my mom, is insisting that you get a new pair because 1, the old ones looks like hell, and 2, these new shoes are so cool and everyone's wearing them. At first you gripe and you grumble and you groan and other alliterative words because it's uncomfortable and unfamiliar and you don't wanna. But eventually you just stop caring. You're indifferent. Meh, what do you care? They're just shoes. Then something new comes along and you do it all over again because by that point you're used to the shoes and you don't want to change. When it comes down to it, technology just needs time. The Luddites and the technophobes of the world out there can curse it and call it the devil and smash computers all they like, but at the end of the day, they're still using technology. Maybe it's sitting down by a nice fire and writing in a journal. Or maybe you're like me, sitting at my computer on a Monday night, eating Cheerios and working on homework. Eventually, something new will evolve and we'll attack that and computers will be off the hook. At one point, everything we used to write was new and scary and evil. But, I mean, it comes down to it that eventually we're just going to get used to it.